All right, guys, welcome to the Fin Factory Fishing Podcast. My name is Captain Mike Morales. Basically, this is going to be our first installment, our first real podcast, and we're pretty excited about it. The things we plan to accomplish during these podcasts are kind of multifaceted. Number one, we want to talk about fishing, obviously. That's the whole purpose behind this. Talk about local fishing reports here on the upper and kind of the lower Laguna Madre. We're going to talk about, different styles of fishing, whether it be kayak fishing, boat fishing, wade fishing, shore fishing, you name it. We're going to try to speak a little bit about all of those different things. And, we're experts in a lot of things, but not experts in everything. So our main objective is to, bring in people who could speak more expertly to some of these areas that that I think are, that require that, whether it be, like I said, all the different styles and kinds of fishing that's out there in the world, and we can even include freshwater fishing in on that too. So that's part of this podcast. The other thing is to talk about products and the new products, the latest products, things that are out there, bring in some experts from the field, some of these vendors that can speak to some of those new things that are coming out that can really aid us when we're out there on the water. And then just lastly, just to, speak freely about how we feel about different things in the area as it relates to fishing, just keeping it fun, keeping it loose, and hopefully answering some questions that everybody has out there in the fishing world, in the fishing community. So we're real excited about it. I also want to introduce my co-host here. His name is Jared Arce. Jared has been a longtime angler here in the Coastal Bend, Corpus Christi area, and I think he brings a lot of good information, but predominantly his objective is to be my fact checker, our fact checker in this podcast. So we're real excited about this. We want to make sure that we're talking about things intelligently, and we're just not shooting for the hip. So, Jared, you want to introduce yourself for a minute?
Yeah. I think this is going to be a great idea. Something we can talk about, either fishing reports or stuff in the kayak industry, stuff people really want to know about. There's a lot of information out there when it comes to kayaking and kayak fishing, and I think Mr. Mike here can let y'all know a few things. So I think it's going to be a good deal, and we're going to try to bring y'all a lot of information, a lot of good information. So I would stay tuned and stick with this podcast.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, guys, let's get started with a little bit of a fishing report from here in the area. And when I talk about the area, I'm talking about everywhere from pretty much Aransas Pass all the way down to Bird Island Basin, and sometimes into Baffin. I'll be honest with you, I haven't fished Baffin in quite some time. It's not really an area that I do or spend a lot of time in fishing. I do it on special requests from clients and what have you, but I think that in my personal opinion, there's just as good a fish around the area in this, around the Corpus Christi area that helps out with not having to do a 2-hour boat ride there and back. So
there's a lot of good fish here close. Sometimes it might not take that whatever hour, 2-hour run to get to Baffin, just depending how the weather is, right?
And depending on what boat you have, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you that on my boat, I fish a little technical poling skiff, and I've done a lot of Baffin bait trips, and when you're doing 30, 35 miles per hour, that is every bit of an hour or more to get there to Baffin from Corpus. I typically launch our boat or pick up clients from Marker 37 or Bluffs Landing Marina. It's a long stretch, but I have been with some folks, some good friends of mine, some good guides, Adrian Washnag and those folks that they got them fast boats, and we get there in about 20 or 30 minutes, but it's all good. But yeah, to Jared's point, there's a lot of good fish here, man, and it's about just getting out there and fishing it, So
right.
As far as my experience here in the last couple of weeks, guys, first and foremost, this week has been freaking windy. It has been horrible from a wind standpoint. I've canceled trips both on boat and kayak. It's been that bad. There's been small wind advisory. But in the last 2 weeks, we've had a couple of windows in there that have, really, had some potential to fish. And I've done it both on kayak and on boat. And I can tell you the areas in and around the JFK bridge, close, and everything I'm speaking to right now is pretty much stuff that you can pretty much get to by kayak or boat. So in and around the JFK area, I can tell you that, I think it was Friday of last week or Thursday, I can't remember. We had a day of damn near glass, and, that's my favorite time to get out, especially on the boat, so I can kind of see the fish patterns. And man, there were a tremendous amount of redfish in the flats. I'm talking about in the hundreds. Wouldn't say they were schooled up. They were in little pods of 4 and 5 in the flats in waters ranging of about 1 foot to 2 foot of water. We even found some fish in some ultra skinny water tailing mid-morning around 9 or 10 o'clock, and it was really, really exciting. So the redfish were in numbers. And they were pretty much responding to all the baits, whether it be topwater, plastics, you name it. We got good responses across the board. I found that, plastics were working really well, kind of a heavier jig head. I like to throw a 3/16 ounce jig head. I think it's, are you getting
and what are y'all mostly looking for? Are y'all looking for pocket, sand holes, grass when you're covering, especially on those really calm days? Colorations in the water.
Yeah, for me, when I'm out there scouting and looking around, like I talked about, the biggest things I'm covering areas that I know that I've fished for many, many years, and so I know that these fish tend to hang out in these areas more times often than not, and of course, wind and weather and water temperature and all these different things and tide, they all play where these fish, like to hang out in. But typically, I'm looking for, to your point, structure, whether it be potholes and grass. I'm also looking for bait. I think bait is one of those big things, and we're starting to see more and more of it, more and more of those schools of mullet around this time of year, early spring, mid-spring. And, where you find big pods of bait, mullet, you're going to find fish.
There's a good chance to find some fish.
Good chance to find some fish. So, yeah, man, we've, it's been really, really good, So we talk about in and around the JFK area. We talk about north of the JFK, in those surrounding areas, south of the JFK.
So are you even running past Corpus Christi Bay when you're talking north?
No, I'm not going as far as Corpus Christi Bay. I'm basically just sticking around, within 2 miles of the actual highway.
There's a lot of water to fish.
A lot of water.
Yeah. So.
And again, for me, I specifically, I kind of more of a targeting of redfish just because that's my fish. I love to catch them. So do my clients. And so, big pockets of fish, man, they're out there and they're thriving. As far as the baits are concerned, like I was talking about plastics, heavier, throwing on a heavier jig. I found that the fish were more responsive to flash. Spoons were working phenomenally. The half-ounce Bagley spoons and hammered gold. Man, you can't beat that. You can't beat that right now. And, I noticed that when I'm fishing and, I'm drifting a path or what have you, whether it be on the kayak or the boat, if I start to see, you'll start to see pin perch, and they're kind of like, they're about the size of a quarter or a $half, and you'll start seeing them kind of
like flashing.
Like they're flashing, they're rolling. They're down there in the grass, and it looks like people are flipping quarters into water because they're continuously
the pinfish. Just sitting in the grass.
They're sitting in the grass and they're rolling and they're flipping. And when I see that, man, I know for sure, tie on a spoon, and it's been magic here as of late.
Right. Yeah, those Bagley hammered spoons have been great. Yeah, and a lot of tournament fishermen that come into the shop, that's what they're looking for. So.
Spoons have been fantastic. Topwater has been also on the rise. Throwing both the She-Dog and the Spook Junior. Both of those have been just freaking money.
You know what else has been money for me is a Skitter Walk. It's called a Skitter V, and that one has been doing really well for me too.
I used to throw that a lot, man, and I haven't thrown that in a while. And I know a lot of people just rave about the Skitter Walk, and but there's just something for me, and everybody has their confidence bait, and there's something about having that Spook Junior. There's something about that sound that really targets fish. And one of the things I've noticed on topwaters, since we're on that topic, it depends on the body of water. Like if I'm here closer to, JFK area, the water's a little deeper. If I'm around the Pita Island area, I think that she-dog has been freaking awesome. But if I go north, like if I'm going to like Aransas Pass, fishing Brown and Root or Terminal Flats or whatever, man, there's nothing better than a Spook Junior. I mean, I have
Nice.
I've been with clients that say, here, tie on the she-dog, I'm going to throw on this Spook Junior and vice versa. And, man, whoever's throwing that Spook Junior is just killing it.
Yeah.
So
do you think it's the size of the bait or the noise of the bait?
I think it's the noise.
Yeah.
And I think it's the...
It's very important.
Yeah,
the noise that comes off your bait is very important.
I mean, I think there's something about the depth, the structure in the water, and how that noise carries in those water channels is what get these fish going. And heck, I think even salinity content may have an impact on the sound. So, of course, I'm not a fish, and nobody else is either. So we don't really know, but I'm just going off of experience, and I could be way off. And if people out there can want to chime in and comment to what they think, man, that'd be great.
That'd be great. Yeah, we want to hear y'all's feedback. So let us know any way you can, whether it's a Facebook message or something through Fin Factory. Let us know. Even call the shop. So the fishing has been good. When the weather dictates. And guys, I want to tell you right now, I know there's a lot of folks that travel from out of town to come fish, and dang it, you came all this way and you're going to fish. But guys, be smart, please. There's some things that you just don't want to mess with, man. And it doesn't matter if the water's a foot deep or 2 foot deep. You're out there and that water's ripping and your winds are blowing 30. You just don't want to be out there. You're just asking for problems to happen, okay? So make smart decisions on that, guys. Reference your weather reports, how accurate those are, which there's a lot to be said about weather reports. Right. I would take, at least 3 or 4 weather reports, sort of look at them all, and then go from there.
What's your favorite weather app or source?
So it's mostly for tides and winds. A lot of surfers use it here. It's called Magic Seaweed. And you can go to the JP Luby side of it. There's, buoys in all different locations. So that will tell me the tides, and that will also tell me like wind direction, how big the tide's going to be, what time it's rolling in, and all that. So I usually go Magic Seaweed, JP Luby.
Gotcha.
I type in. So.
And I'll be honest with you guys, and doing this for so long and having, weather be a big part of my business, to me, the most accurate app that I've ever used is the Weather Channel. And people are like a Weather Channel, man. There's so many different apps. But, man, I'll tell you, the Weather Channel, if you get it down and you can break it down by the hour, man, that thing has been proven to be a hit for me. So, making sure that we're looking at, those different apps or the things that you have confidence in, definitely do it. But I can tell you, being on the coastal bend in this area, man, the degree of accuracy, is
it's pretty tough.
It's pretty tough, man. And it isn't, to me, it ain't even worth looking at it until at least 2 days before your trip. And for me, it's 1 day before the trip, just because it's just, man, things change. They're so volatile so quick.
And it's very important to find one that will give you an hourly report, just because things can change up pretty quick. If a cold front's rolling through or something like that, winds will change in a matter of minutes. So just be careful out there.
So, I know we kind of went off on a tangent there, but back to what I was talking about as far as fishing report, the redfish, like I said, have just been stacked up. I mean, we'll see Facebook posts from a bunch of different people, and, man, the bite is on. It's just finding the right condition to do it in. So, kind of, we talked about redfish. What about trout? I mean, obviously there's a lot of concern, and rightfully so, with the trout population. And in fact, there's been new regulations we're going to talk about too here in a minute. But as it relates to trout fishing, guys, I can tell you this has probably been one of the most productive start of the seasons for me for trout fishing. And I'm talking about good trout.
There's been some good trout, yes.
I mean, we've just been knocking the socks off of the trout in areas that, kind of different, I mean, they've, everybody knows foot, trout fishing in 3 to 4 foot of water, is typically for you catch good numbers of trout in those waters. But man, we've caught trout in 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. We've caught it in all different areas and in all different, depths of water. And it's been great. You just got to find them, and that can be a challenge. But I can tell you right now, from a guide standpoint, it's been a while since I've had a start of a year on trout. And so what has been the reason for that, or what have I done different? I really haven't done anything different, guys, from year over year over the last 5-10 years, fishing kind of the same bodies of water that I'm used to. One of the things that I have done that I've noticed has kind of helped with my trout fishing, and it could be is fishing slower. I've been fishing kind of fast, and I think the redfish respond to quicker baits, but low and slow. Even on warm days or warm water, man, those trout have just kind of been hovering.
And that's hard to do sometimes. Take your time and really slow that bait down. Sometimes you just get in a rush and start fishing and don't even think about that. So.
And, plastics have been phenomenal. Of course, we've had great days of topwater bites, live shrimp on a popping cork for some of my clients. I mean, dude, we've been catching some awesome trout on shrimp,
Right.
And everything you read from a biology standpoint, they say that mature trout won't eat crustacean. And I can tell you, we've been doing it, and I'm not too proud to say, we will throw live bait on guided trips just because,
some of these people have never held a rod and reel before, so
exactly.
You got to set them up just to catch a fish, and they're really happy about it. So
I mean, the trout are out there, guys. You just got to go out there and look for them. And then, of course, black drum. Man, if you want to catch black drum, I mean, they're out there. And one of my favorite places to fish is along 361, Kate's Hole, Dead Man's Hole. Man, there's been schools of drum in those waters for over 2 years now.
There's a lot of drum back there.
A lot of drum.
A good way to do it is find your highest vantage point, whether it be on your boat, your kayak, or whatever. Stand up and just look for schools. If you drift a while, you'll come up on something. You'll see something.
But they've been kind of just hovering in those holes, 3 to 4 foot of water for, man, as long as I can remember. So if you have a hankering for black drum, man, just fish any one of the holes along 361 and they will be in there. You just got to take your time to find them, and once you do, man, it's game on. And you'll probably see several tower boats hovering around them too, so be careful if you're on a kayak, okay? I mean, kind of back to trout, as we all know, hopefully we know, there's been some changes in the regulations to the trout, mainly to help, improve the populations of mature breeder trout. As you guys know, we did suffer a pretty significant fish kill, over the last couple of freezes, and, I saw it firsthand. I think a lot of people out there saw the devastation as it relates to the trout. And so let's talk a little bit about that, Jared. I know you did a little research on it, so what do we got?
Yeah, so they just changed the regulations probably about a month ago, March 16th. They changed the regulations to where we can have 3 trout. You can keep 3 trout 17 to 23 inches, and then you can't keep anything over 23 inches, which is good. You wouldn't really want to keep anything over 23 anyways. Those are the breeder trout. So those trout are going to go on to make little trout babies, and those are the ones you don't want to take out of the system. So Texas Parks and Wildlife is allowing us to keep 3 fish, 17 to 23, 3 speckled trout, from March 16th, 2022 to August 31st, 2023. So right now, that is the date that is set, August 31st, 2023. That's what the date is set to for this to be over.
I don't know that it's to be over. I think it's just so they can kind of revisit.
Right. I think they're probably going to revisit it come that time and make a point whether it's going to be, that law is going to stay the same or change it back to what it was a while back.
I think that's what the spirit of that end date is, and I don't know that it ends. And I got to be real honest with you. I hope that it doesn't end. I hope that stays the norm, because
And I totally agree with that.
You know, I can tell you that there's a lot of, you know, when I see it, guys, when I go and, you know, I'm fishing daily with customers or what have you, and going to the marinas and I'm seeing these baskets full of, you know, you got guide boats with 5 people on each boat, and each one of them had 5 trout, and they're all over 20. And it just, listen, I'm a firm believer in that, you know, you have your rights as a citizen, you know.
All right, as an angler.
You know, the law states,
Sure.
you know, I can keep 5 trout. And you know what, I agree. You know, listen, I'm not one of those, you know, advocates that say, no, you can't keep. I mean, I think that, you know, I think that you definitely should keep, but you got to think about a little bit about conservation. Not a little bit, but a lot of it. You know, I think that, you know, be aware that our, you know, our fishery has taken a hit. And, you know, as a guide, you know, as an angler, you know, we all have this, in my opinion, this innate, you know, thing inside of us, call it, you know, from the old hunting and gathering, you know, areas, is that, you know, I got to keep everything. You know, I'm going to keep everything because, you know, I never know when I'm going to eat again. I don't know if that's, and again, I think everybody who's listening to this has felt that. You catch that big old trout and you want to take it home.
Sure.
You catch that big old bull red, you want to take it home. I mean, that's yours,
right,
you know,
right.
and I get it. And it's hard, you know, and it's hard to, it's sometimes for some folks, it's hard to release that fish back into the wild. But
definitely.
But I'll tell you that, you know, through my evolution in angling, because I used to be that guy that kept everything, you know, back when I first started. And I think we all were. It's mine. That was our deal. It's mine. But, you know, even now, you know, I'll catch a nice fish and I'll say, man, you know what, I really want to keep this, but I'm going to let it go. And, man, and then you take the picture and you let it go. And then later on, you're like, man, I'm glad I let that fish go.
That's a good picture.
It's a good thing, man. You know, for one thing, you know, you're saving the environment and you're saving our fishery, but at the same time, too, did you really want to take that fish home and clean it and do all that stuff? You know, most of the time, you know, you really don't, you know, so.
Yeah, I think there's a point in a fisherman's life where you sort of mature and you'd rather release a trophy than you know, keep it and put it in the freezer. And
I think that the picture, man, lasts far longer than that fish will last in your freezer.
Definitely. Pictures are awesome, especially the good fish.
You know, I see people taking fish home all the time, man, and I'm like, dude, you can't possibly eat that much fish.
Right.
You know, but, you know, your freezer's stacked, but, you know, after a year, the shit's no good, you know. It's in your freezer.
Yeah, redfish is good. You know, I try to eat it within the same week that I catch it, if I do keep any. I haven't kept a fish in a while. Ever since this freeze, I haven't kept redfish or trout. I did keep a flounder a while back. Nice 23 I kept, so that one I did eat.
You know, and for me, you know, it's kind of changed also to where, you know, I'm fortunate enough to where if I want to eat fish, and I just go out and catch it that day.
Yes.
You know, I don't even freeze fish anymore.
Yes.
So, you know, I know not everybody has that ability, and I get it, but, you know, let's just be smart and responsible when we're out there fishing, man. And I got to tell you, you will be very happy with that photo that you take. Post it on Facebook, make it your profile picture on Instagram, you know, whatever it takes. You get more mileage out of just catching a photo and releasing that fish. So.
Right, yes. I think there was a lot of learning people did after the freeze. There was a big push to stop keeping trout, and a lot of fishermen, you know, they learned a lot during that time, and you know, it was a good time to sit back and think, you know, what is our fishery going through right now? How can I help, and what can I do to keep it sustained and not just take and take and take? So,
and you know, it's like I said, back to the initial comment when we were talking about trout. Man, like I said, it's been a record year for me in guide fishing for trout.
Oh yeah,
we've caught a lot of them. So for me, you know, kind of thinking about it, it's like, well, man, I've caught more trout this year than I have in the last 5 years.
This year, you and your clients have done really good on trout.
And you know, but I could also understand too that, you know, it's I don't know.
It's one of those things, man. It's weird how, you know, after that freeze, I did land some really nice trout, and people were saying, "Oh no, they're all dead. They're all dead." Well, no, they're not. They're still out there, and you know, it just takes some grinding. a lot of finding trout. So
Yeah.
if once you find the school, I think you'll start hanging a few, but that's been the trouble for me, is actually finding a school of trout. The reds are all good. I can find the reds, but trout for me right now has been a little tough. But you, Mike, you've been killing it.
All right. So, man, that was good. That was a good conversation regarding the trout, man. I thought it was, that was cool. And the releasing the fish, and hopefully people will kind of, you know, think about, you know, what we talked about on their next fishing trip out there and hang on to a big trophy.
Definitely.
Well, good deal, man. Well, listen, you know, I think that this was a good introductory. We're going to get into a lot more good stuff, guys, here in the future. You know, again, my hope is to have, our hope is to have this at least once a week. Hopefully get some guests in here. So if you're interested and want to share some cool insight and cool information, reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram, or shoot me an email at mike@finfactorycharters.com and see if we can't work something out for to get you guys in the studio here.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, if you guys, any of you guys that come in the shop a lot, or fishermen, you think, you know, you have someone that might, you know, be interested on getting on the show, someone who has some great information, let us know. Hit us up. So. And
guys, we're doing everything here out of the Fin Factory Kayak and Tackle Shop here in Corpus Christi. This is kind of our home base. This is where we do everything from kayaks to fishing to booking charter trips to doing all that good stuff. So we, you know, this is where we do it. And, you know, my goal is that, you know, I prefer doing one-on-one interviews face to face as opposed to doing it on, you know, whether it be over a phone or over Instagram, rooms and all these different things. I think it's just more of a formal thing, and, you know, you get a good feel for people when you're talking to them face to face. So So like I said, guys, we hope to have some more awesome content for you guys. For now, we appreciate you guys listening in. And, you know, if we don't see you, tight lines, guys.